I have a decent arm. So.
Yeah, you do. I mean, that iPad, I still the shock on his face as it came flying at him.
That was.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is another balmy night here in the great state of Minnesota. It's Tuesday night. It is Tuesday night with Ben Stowe night, and I have got the one and only Ben Stowe from NLFX Pro. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, John.
It is a great day.
Yes.
Beautiful weather, and we're still, I think the best way to describe it is we're still coming off the high of the Mobile Beat Las Vegas DJ show.
Well, it was a great experience. Saw a lot of friends, enjoyed the chance to be a part of that. But I left right from there to another event in the Gulf Coast in Pensacola. But I want to talk about today for a second, because there is something very, very weird going on.
Uh-oh.
Something very, very weird. I like it, but as I drove back down to the office to film tonight's episode, I realized something was different. It's light out.
There's that big thing still out.
Yeah, that there's a big glowing orb in the sky that I haven't seen in 9 months, I think.
It seems it.
And there's liquid water on the streets. The snow is melting. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Santa's sleigh, because you're so far north, he's putting wheels on it.
Well, I think it was 31 below when we left for the Mobile Beat show. And then, of course, I went from Vegas to Pensacola, where it was warmer. I wasn't warmer than Vegas, but it was warmer than here.
Yeah.
And a lot of humidity. It was, 60s and foggy, whatnot. So to come home to this, I think it hit 50 degrees today, is just unreal, and I'm pretty geeked about it.
Oh, for sure.
Tonight's show almost got canceled.
Exactly. It would be two cameras on us as we're outside playing ball with our kids or something.
We are closed on account of weather.
In a good way for once.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned you were down in Florida, and you just kind of gave me a little bit of a sneak peek, but you've got a couple of shirts for us tonight, so let's take a look at those.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we did a shirt of the week, so I thought, let's bring one back. First of all, here we go. Our Bemidji State men's and women's hockey team both had a fantastic year, made us proud. Women set a season record, 21 wins in the playoffs. They beat number one Minnesota. Unfortunately, they lost in the playoffs, and they lost to Wisconsin, so their season is over. But our men, their season is still going. They are hosting their first ever WCHA home playoff. We just moved to the WCHA conference about 4 years ago, which, of course, was one of the premier conferences in college hockey. Prior to some of the restructuring, our conference members included Minnesota, Wisconsin, University of North Dakota, that sort of thing. So pretty tough conference. Anyway, we're hosting our very first home playoff game this weekend against Ferris State. So if there's any viewers out there that are Ferris State fans, love to have you in Bemidji. Come on up for the game. We'll go grab some lunch. We'll talk hockey during the game. All bets are off. Okay, all right. But before and after, I'll be your pal. During the game,
at any moment.
Yeah, strictly business, guys.
The gloves could hit the deck, and it's time to go.
Well, Ferris State's had such a great history of college hockey too. Frozen Four appearance recently, and a perennial playoff appearances. You never take them for granted either. They're going to be solid. We got 3 out of 4 points when we played them there this year in regular season conference play, and they're a team that's going to want that back. So I expect a pretty tough series. There should be some really good hockey. Two really good teams that are both playing really well right now. And, of course, we just hope that it's BSU. And that's why I'm wearing the home white in honor of a home playoff. We just hope it's BSU that's advancing to the WCHA Final Five.
So there's our sport update for tonight's show. Now, let's get into the side that took you down to Florida from the Mobile Beat show.
I had the honor, the pleasure, I don't know what other words I can toss in there, of running sound for a Comic-Con type show called Pensacon in Pensacola. And of course, there's there were actors and actresses and voice talent and everything from all walks of life, and it was kind of a dizzying. I don't recall all the names. I was busy working, running sound.
Sure.
I do remember one surreal moment where I kind of looked back on my career and thought, huh. When one of the actresses who has a tremendous IMDb profile and is certainly a name that everyone would recognize, but I'm not going to say it, came up to me and said, "Could I have your email? My son wants to be an audio engineer. It's such a blessing that I got to meet you. And I thought, sure. You bet. So that was kind of a neat experience.
Yeah.
And we'll get to the shirt. I think what has to top the experience off, though, was doing sound for what they call voice actor theater. And we have all these voice actors, some of whom I listened to as a kid, voicing cartoons and things. Alan Oppenheimer, for example, did a bunch of the Masters of the Universe people, Skeletor, Cringer, that sort of thing. Did some of the Smurfs. There's Barbara Goodson, who's in one of the Star Wars cartoons. Trina Nishimura, who's a young legend. I mean, she's already made a big name for herself. And Ricky Simmons, and I forget who the other voice actors are, but they're names that you hear all the time, especially if you have kids. And they did this voice actor theater where they did they did Return of the Jedi, but in their characters' voices. So I think, for example, Jabba the Hutt was Pikachu or something, and actually, once they really started to roll, it was very difficult for me to keep quiet as I'm running sound, and I was running sound from just immediately off stage left, so I was still a bit in the eye of the audience. I'm used to hiding behind the audience or in a booth or at front of house, back of an arena or something, but to really just be right off the stage and trying to not laugh hysterically was a challenge. I think the best part was that you have all these very talented people, and they spend most of their careers in booths, and they were really beginning to enjoy their chemistry. It was just starting to click. There's a scene where Luke is upset that he's just learned that Darth Vader is really his father. And, Yoda says, "Unfortunate this is." And Luke says, "Unfortunate that I know the truth." And just deadpan, I think it was Kerrigan. But anyway, one of the voiceover actors does just a deadpan Jack voice from, the Tom Cruise. Oh, gosh, now I just spaced the name of it. Anyway, and he says, "You can't handle the truth,"
Oh, Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, Jack Nicklaus. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of the movie. I just spaced. I was lost in the moment. But anyway, it wasn't at all in the script, and it was just doggone funny. So that was a neat experience, and I was grateful for that, and got to take some pictures with the 501st Legion.
Exactly. I was just going to say we've got some pictures, so let's take a look at a couple of those.
Yeah. Well, here's the crazy thing. They asked me if I would be in the picture. And that's another one of those times when you're kind of looking back and saying, wow.
Nice.
So it's come to this. I get actresses asking for my email and phone number, and Darth Vader asking if he can take a picture with me. I thought, how do you top that? And the answer might be that the folks from Pensacon have not only asked me if I'd be willing to come back next year, but they have preliminarily said that David Prowse, who is the actor inside Darth Vader's suit, will be there, and they said, "Would you be interested in moderating his panel?" I thought, yeah, I could probably do that.
That would be cool.
I could twist arm.
Yeah, twist arm. I'm thinking I can envision the show on the road next year, coming right from a special guest Darth Vader.
Well, you know what? I mean, these folks put on such a fantastic show down there. I got to say, I was really, really impressed. I wasn't really sure what to expect going in, and I mean, it just hats off to the folks at Pensacon. They did a fantastic job, and I mean, at one point, I think they oversold capacity early in the day. And it's easy to see why. They're hard at work now trying to figure out how they can grow capacity and improve their guest experience, because they've got a show definitely worth going to.
Wow, neat.
And to that end, it brings us to our second T-shirt of the week. This was a shirt they gave me. and it was commissioned just for them. You can see the Pensacon logo on the top there.
Yeah.
And quite a few,
Very cool.
characters, as it were.
Yeah. A neat keepsake from the show, for sure.
Yeah, I was really kind of blown away. In fact, they were, when they gave me the shirt, I kind of thought they were just showing it to me, and then I said, this is for me. That's really neat. Thank you. I mean, it's cool. I like it a lot. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
My son still hasn't quite forgiven me.
He's like, Dad,
mm-hmm.
some love.
Yeah.
Oh, kids, they have a good time. Well, let's jump back to before the Pensacon show. Let's look at Mobile Beat. It was a big show this year. We had an experience, I think is the best way to describe it, like we've never had before.
I think that's fair. The production value is the best that I've seen in a DJ show. It really, they did what needed to be done. It was exciting to be a part of it. The cast was pretty star-studded, I think. But the attendees, there isn't much more I think an attendee could ask for out of a DJ show. To be real honest, they did a good job.
Yeah, it was great. And those of you who didn't get a chance to see some of the videos and such, next week's show, Ben and I will actually be taking you through kind of the behind the scenes with the sound system, like Mike Dussault from Electro Voice, and that was an incredible experience.
Well, that's a big part of it, and that's one of the things I've kind of marveled is that we're in the production industry, and yet sometimes the production at our shows doesn't live up to standards we would expect from ourselves for our clients. Certainly having companies like Electro Voice and Chevet provide the sound and lighting, that really can't be overstated. You can't take anything away from people like Jason Jana and Jeremy Breck, who did some of the production and whatnot. I mean, they did a fantastic job. It really was a team effort. Yeah. And then you include from Electro Voice people like Stu Schatz and Preston Stevenson, who are two incredibly talented sound engineers. And you use the right equipment, you use it the right way, and that was, I think, what needed to happen, not only from a production value standpoint for the attendees, but also as a living example for the attendees, because and as people will see in our show next week, what we talked about, it was all done with gear that DJs own.
For sure.
This is all stuff DJs could do and should do, maybe minus the rigging part, but that's another tangent, right? But anyway, it was what needed to be done, and I was glad to be a part of it. Yeah,
it was a great experience all the way around. And of course, part of that educational experience was Ben Stowe on stage.
Well, I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again. I never get tired of hearing myself talk. So
our viewers are like, "Huh, wow, that's new to me."
Yeah, we wouldn't know. I was grateful for the opportunity, and I was excited to see that. Obviously I've spoke hundreds of times, and I've keynoted whatever, but it's fun when you get to go up in front of your industry friends and colleagues, and you get to go up on a stage like that, and of course the exclamation point is when you get to make Bill writhe in pain. That's always a good time for me anyway.
Yeah, that was probably the most talked about point of the convention up to that point in time. I saw pictures, I saw video clips. It was pretty impressive.
Well, credit to Bill and Jason Jones, who are just incredible entertainers. When this whole thing started, Mike Bonacorso, who's the show producer, said, "Ben, we'd like you to speak at Mobile Beat this year." And I said, "Okay." And pretty much he said, "I'm sure you'll come up with something good." It was just sort of, blank slate, carte blanche. Just do whatever you want. Here's your slot.
Yep.
Tell us how much time you want and present what you want. And on one hand, that's a really nice compliment where you say, wow, they pretty much just trust me to, they just turn over the keys to the show for an hour and say, do your thing. On the other hand, you say, well,
that's an hour.
Yeah. And the things I talk about are sometimes the unfortunate truths, the things that people don't necessarily want to acknowledge. I think a lot of people watch this show looking to gain that knowledge, and I appreciate the viewers, and I hope I deliver to them. But they have the choice to watch it when they want and if they want.
Yes.
On the other hand, the 800 or so people in that room, their only choice was be in the room or don't be in the room. It was the only thing going on. So,
and there were big people at the door that wouldn't let you out, so you pretty much were in the room.
Yeah, we kind of did this like a religious cult, you come in and you can't leave, but no, I mean, the thing is, you kind of think to yourself, not in a glib sense, but you think, well, this better be good.
Yeah.
This better be good. This better be on point. This better be educational. And it better be entertaining, because nobody here really wants to have an engineering white paper. And that's kind of why we titled it what we did, Things Your Mother Didn't Tell You About Being a DJ. You really didn't want to know this stuff, but guess what? You found out the hard way you have to.
Yeah.
So here it is. And I'm really happy to hear that people are still talking about that, because that was the other challenge. Mike Bonacorso said, remember 6 or 7 years ago when you did the angle grinder thing and you shot sparks 30 feet into the crowd and you nearly got us kicked out of the hotel? We want that again. We want you to give them something to talk about. So that's where Jason and Bill and I had to come together. I had to lean on these guys and say, I know the technology behind it, but how do we make this really good?
Yeah.
And we brainstormed some different ideas, and it was kind of a 2 out of 3 of us voted that Bill should get zapped, and you can guess who voted against it. And anyway, that's what we did. That was one of the 2 things that we did to just sort of keep people, I think, entertained a little bit, engaged. Science can be fun, right?
Yep. Before we get to the video now, what were you talking about? As you mentioned the things, of course, the title and such. But what were the topics that you were talking about during the presentation?
Well, we hit 4 of them. We talked about why loudspeakers can fail, and specifically the logarithmic relationship between heat and loudspeaker failure, and dB rise versus temperature rise. And there again, tried to be a little bit corny with it. I mentioned the point at which water boils into coffee, and then at the point where you could bake brownies with your speaker, and then whatever. There were 2 great literary references in my presentation, by the way, and I'll challenge a viewer. The first viewer to post the 2 literary references from my presentation in the comments, I'll send them some swag. We'll send them some goodies. So there's a challenge for you.
Nice.
And it's just a little. I like giving stuff away. Mm-hmm. And we talked about things like the future of the wireless spectrum with the FCC, and we talked about why all cables are not created equal and choosing the right cable for the job. But specifically when we were getting ready to zap Bill, we were talking about eliminating ground hum, and we were talking about why these are a terrible, terrible idea, why these little 3-to-2 adapters are not a good choice for eliminating ground hum, but also a very dangerous choice in and of themselves, and why using them for that purpose actually is illegal. And we can get into some of that maybe after the video if you want. And it could be good for the people who weren't there. I'm on a mission to save some lives and still make good audio. But we wanted to talk about why this ground, the safety ground, is there, and what could happen when you remove that safety ground. And Bill was the recipient of that. So in order to illustrate that, what we did is I made a metal handy box. I took a metal electrical handy box, and I made a box that would be Bill's, and I made a box that would be mine. I alerted Bill that he was going to get a sensation here, and I told him there would also be a red LED that would light on the box, so he would know when he was experiencing that. And then, unbeknownst to Bill, and there's just very little prep ahead of time with him. Unbeknownst to him, as he's standing there, I start putting on safety glasses, and I start putting on electrical gloves, and Bill is now starting to get a little bit nervous, actually. And I very matter-of-factly told Jason to take another step back as he's holding out the microphone to Bill. I said, take another step back. And I could see Bill actually now Bill is a tremendously talented entertainer, and I think he knew his role, and he played it very, very well. And I don't know how much of the concern was genuine, but anyway, you'll see the spot here where Bill is now I think he's really starting to second guess how much voltage he's actually going to get, and it's getting down to it's time.
Here we go. Let's take a look.
Huh? What? I'm gonna, just a minute here. Seriously? That wasn't so bad. God, that wasn't so bad. What are you doing?
What did you think was gonna happen?
I ground my stuff, okay? Give me that. Give me that.
Do it again.
Oh, I disconnected it. We'll get it, you know. My brother's a cop. I thought about borrowing his taser. All right, Bill. Go lick your wounds for a little bit. I might have something else for you later. We'll see. Thank you, Bill. You're a very good sport. You all want to sit down for a little bit?
Well, Ben.
All right. Now, I want to say that there were some reasons that I didn't tell Bill exactly what was going to go on, because I wanted the reaction to be somewhat genuine, even though, again, I know he's a very talented entertainer. I will confess now that there was no voltage present at all. In fact, the PowerCon cord that I had going into my box was dead-ended. And in fact, even if someone had accidentally plugged it in, I had carefully insulated everything inside and terminated all those connections in a way that no such voltage could ever be present. Because even in an accidental scenario, I didn't want Bill to really get hurt.
Oh, for sure.
When things are being sent via airlines and stuff, things can get loose. And so, which, by the way, I'm sure TSA was super impressed with this deal with push buttons and batteries and stuff. Metal boxes and cables and push buttons and batteries. I'm sure they thought that was fantastic. But anyway, what I did was I put a motor with an off-balance weight and made his box vibrate at a high frequency, and it felt like a shock. He was expecting to be shocked. And again, just to his credit, he's such a fantastic entertainer that he knew his role. But I wanted to make it easy for him, and you could see he didn't want to do it again. So I got him twice, and after that, he's starting to rethink things a little bit, I think. So
I love his response. How could you?
I love the response from people in the crowd saying,
Get him again. Yeah. There's his friends in the front. Get him again.
Well, what's even better, I've got a picture for you to put up here. I have a lot of friends in law enforcement who started volunteering me pictures of them holding their tasers, saying, well, you could have used my taser. So maybe next year, part 2, we'll see. I don't know. See if Bill's up for it.
I think
nice thing about a taser is it's got about a 15-foot range. So even if he tries to run,
Oh, Bill does watch the show once in a while, so maybe.
I bet he watches this one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. I know what he's going to do next year. Bill, you want to be part of my show?
No. I want to just take a moment now that we have everybody's attention and talk about, while it's all fun and games, and it was funny lighting up Bill, it's not funny when it's a guest. It's not funny when it's you.
Oh, for sure.
And so to point out, again, that these are not hum eliminators. That is not what they're there for. And in fact, here's a better example of what this was designed to accomplish. Here we have 2 prongs and this green wire. We'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
And here we see we have the 3. This was designed to go into ungrounded receptacles, which, by the way, a grounded receptacle was made code in 1968. So starting in 1968, all construction should have had grounded 3-prong receptacles or thereabouts. And these should not be necessary whatsoever anymore, but yet they persist. Well, if you were to use this properly, this green wire, or in the case of others, like this one has a tab, that is designed to be attached to the ground. So in fact, this was not designed ever to lift a ground, but rather to create a ground when there was only 2 prongs to begin with. So when DJs use these to lift a ground, they're lifting the equipment safety ground, and that's just by the nature of the name, you should say, well, that's not a good idea. You're right, it's not a good idea. It removes the low resistance conductive path to back to the grounded conductor in the panel, the neutral, which allows a breaker to trip quickly and eliminate a fault current. It's if you have a noise, it can be frustrating, and there's plenty of good ways to solve it that don't involve doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's an entire show, because there's guys who've made entire careers out of solving ground hum.
Yeah.
Bill Whitlock and Neil Muncy come to mind. But here's the takeaway: removing that safety ground is it's not only a very bad idea, it's dangerous, and it's illegal. Now, I know there's people out there saying, "Wow, it's crap. This guy, it's not illegal." It is. It is illegal. And if you don't believe me, grab yourself a copy of the National Electric Code. They're updated every 3 years. So the current version will be 2014. Some states are still on 2011. Some, I think, are still on 2008. Some are on 2014. It doesn't matter. Guess what? They didn't change that part. It's illegal. You cannot remove the ground for the sake of eliminating what they call an objectionable current, which is noise. That's not the point. And the real takeaway is, we've talked about this in some of our other shows, things like the entertainment, the event safety people and the Entertainment Safety Alliance and that sort of thing. You just don't want to be on the receiving end of a situation where you did something illegal and it caused someone to be hurt or killed.
Oh, for sure.
That's going to end very, very badly for you.
Oh, certainly, because a lot of insurance companies, even though we're carrying insurance, when it's something that I intentionally do like that, the chances of them covering me, very, very slim.
Not going to happen. And in fact, there was a story I was going to mention, used to be on the Mackie forums years ago, about a guy who accidentally lifted the ground inside of a mixer repairing it. Wasn't done with one of these, but functionally it was the same thing. And a person was killed, I believe. Well, anyway, he had $2 million of insurance. The insurance company did pay because it was an accidental lifting of the ground, but he was sued for far more than $2 million and ended up being bankrupted anyway. In the case of doing something like this, you could potentially face criminal charges too. I think that would depend on the prosecutor and a lot of different circumstances. But today I was reading in the news that a filmmaker was sentenced to prison time for the death on a filming site, a movie shoot of a camera assistant, where he was deemed, negligent, criminally negligent. So, bottom line, look, just don't do it, okay? Yeah. That's not what they're there for. They're not a handy troubleshooting tool. They're a bad idea. That's what they are.
Yeah, really, I can't think of an application in a mobile DJ daily, even if you're playing in old VFWs. I mean, really, that ground, that 2 to 3, you'd almost have to run that to the box to catch a ground, or where would you catch a ground with that to make it a legal wiring?
Well, you're not gonna. That's the short answer. Again, this is designed to where maybe the box was grounded, but there wasn't a grounded receptacle installed. Then you could connect this to the grounding point, and that was okay. There's a far better way to do that, though, which is to install a ground fault circuit interrupter, also known as a GFCI. You probably see them in your bathroom by your sink. They have little buttons that says test and reset.
Yep.
You can install a GFCI where you don't have a safety ground, and then there's a little sticker you put on it that says no equipment ground. And now if you're a DJ that plays in the old VFW that hasn't updated their outlets since before 68, you might say, well, what do I do? Well, you can get yourself a portable GFCI, and you can bring it with you in your rig, and you now have protection for that ungrounded circuit. You have a GFCI built right into your rig. And in this case, then, if you needed to go into that thing, well, so be it. We're not lifting a ground because there isn't one there in the first place. Yeah. We're not eliminating a ground here. We're just using this to go into the 2 conductors that we have, and then we have our GFCI that is going to protect us if that ground gets lifted, or if that ground experiences a fault, rather. Well, there isn't a ground, so
Cool. There we go. So those of you who play in that old VFW, which just a lot of us have over the years, there's definitely an option. And that cord you just showed us now, that portable GFI, is that something that if they give Stacy a call, she can get them hooked up with?
It isn't even something we sell.
Oh.
You can pick them up at all your major home improvement stores. Probably, certainly all of those, the Home Depots, Lowe's, Menards, carry them. I would guess maybe some of the big box stores do too. Your Hardware Hank, True Value,
yeah, I
would think have them. It's called a portable GFCI. There are smaller ones that just plug into the wall. And then there are models like this as well, which has a little bit of a tail on it,
Yep, good to know. Very good.
Also a very, very useful tool for when you are working in wet environments. If you do have a ground, you still want that extra protection of a GFCI. That's some people have said. Now, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I'll say that some have said that the protection of a GFCI is superior to the protection of an equipment ground anyway. I'll let those people who said it be the ones who said it. I'll just say that some people said it.
Exactly. Rumor has it that.
Yeah. I heard once from somebody.
From somebody's cousin's nephew's uncle's sister that. Oh, good stuff. Well, let's get to the last part of what you were using Bill as your lovely assistant for at Mobile Beat Las Vegas.
Well, we wanted to demonstrate that all cables are not created equal. Certainly not within the scope of quality of cables, but also for the application. And that all cables by design affect the signal. In a perfect world, they wouldn't. In a perfect world, what we send is what we get. But that's just not the world we live in. So we want to alter that signal as little as possible. And the best way to do that is to build a cable that's designed to carry the type of signal we're sending. Therefore, a cable designed for an analog mic signal is going to be different in terms of its characteristics and properties from a DMX cable is designed to carry a digital signal like DMX.
Yeah.
So we put this wooden box on Bill's head with a compartment above it. Bill is deathly afraid of spiders. So we told him we put mice in there. And we said, now, Bill, there's a trapdoor that's spring-loaded in this compartment over your head. And once I energize this box and remove the safety latch, it will be held in place by a DMX signal. If the DMX signal fails, the trapdoor, which is spring-loaded, will release, and the mice will land on your head. And we shot a little bit of Cheese Whiz in there in his face, just for good effect. And then we went through the differences of a mic cable and a DMX cable and said, now, which cable do you want, Bill? When it really matters, never mind putting on a good show for your clients, but how about getting mice on your head? Which cable will you choose? And
let me pop the picture up here. I've got the.
Oh, do you? Okay, great.
Yeah, I got the picture that it doesn't. We're just showing you to the side and Bill with a box on his head. No mice. I'm not seeing.
Well, see, now, after he chose wisely, we then told him that it was not, in fact, mice, but it was spiders. So he chose very well. At that point, it was time to end the presentation because Bill needed to be rushed to the hospital.
Because he had a coronary thing going on. I wonder why he looked so stressed that night.
Yeah, poor guy. He took it so well, He took it so well, and I think the reason he did is because he's already hard at work plotting something for Jason. So, and the best part about this is I get to just keep teaching people and making the industry a safer place, and all the while tormenting my friends.
Yes, I think that was indeed the case as we think back to the video. Oh, good.
Hit him again!
That's
when you really find out who your friends are.
Yeah.
People are screaming, hit him again from the audience. I think my favorite comment, though, I saw a video that was filmed from the back of the room, and what's great about that is you hear all the commentary of the people around that person filming. And I loved how engaged people were that they were talking about this. And I heard one person exclaim, "He really did it!" I ain't messing around here. You bet we're going to do it. So,
great stuff. So, Ben, to remind our viewers of that way to get some swag, what do they need to do?
All right. They have to mention the two literary references that I used in my presentation. I mentioned two famous literary works, and if they can identify those two famous literary works that I used in my presentation, I will send them some goodies.
Nice. And you guys, for those of you watching, you can put that in the comments down below the video here on YouTube, because we check that area out. And of course, we appreciate your feedback and questions and thoughts and laughing about Bill's getting shocked. It's all good.
Speaking of two things, I want to just toss two more quick things in, just for anybody who thinks that I'm maybe not right on the money with the legality of using these things to lift a ground. I believe in truth and disclosure, and I would love if people would actually take the initiative to go look it up for themselves, because I want people to be curious and I want them to be informed. So for the sake of doing that, it's in Section 250 in the National Electric Code, which, of course, that entire section is dedicated to grounding and bonding. And it is, I believe, 250.114 and 250.6 subsection D. If I'm wrong, then, it's somewhere in 250. But I promise you I'm not wrong about them being in there. They're in there. So.
Mm-hmm. And I've at Mobile Beat, one of the things I had people come up and say, he must have notes all over his desk, because he starts quoting things and it's like he's reading it right out of the manual. And so, especially if you just got them right, you're going to have people freaking out.
I guess we all got our gifts, and I didn't get beauty for sure, and I can't sing. So, I did chuckle one time where there was somebody who said, well, I'd like to see how good Ben is without Google in front of him, or I'd like to see how good Ben really is without Wikipedia. I'm like, game on, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't have enough bandwidth when we're doing these shows to have Google open on the side. I mean, the closest we've ever had for technology was that really cool pop serving machine that brought the pop out.
Yeah, I'm still taking some heat over that, but
yeah, well, contracts, it's tough to pay those pop machines what they think they're worth these days.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or comments, please put those down below. If you know the answer to the literary references, down below in the comment section. We appreciate you watching tonight. Ben, thank you very much for your time tonight. I'm looking forward to next week with our EV show. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV, and Ben Stowe from NLFX Pro. Thanks for watching. Good night.